Video is basically just a very brief and short intro to the field of philosophy, or the branch of philosophy called metaphysics. Metaphysics is also related to a very subfield called ontology, and that is related to a bunch of other things. This is like a main branch of philosophy, which is basically a part of most other kinds of philosophy. It's just a big thing here. There are many branches of philosophy, and this is just a little series that I'm doing among the many videos on my channel, which are just introducing the various branches of philosophy. Metaphysics is the study of philosophy about the reality of the world. We can go back to the modern philosophy of metaphysics, like Leibniz and Malebranche and Descartes, which talk about the soul, the world, and God. And Kant basically went against them. Plato had his metaphysics of the forms, and basically back to ancient philosophy, modern philosophy, and throughout philosophy of today. Metaphysics has just grown, and it's become just a main branch, one of the main branches in philosophy. So it's basically talking about certain things about the world. It's in a big thing in metaphysics is ontological commitment. Ontology is basically what kind of entities in the world you hold to exist. I think that a great book to read for introducing yourself to metaphysics is a sketch of a systematic metaphysics by Armstrong, and it's about what kind of entities you think there to be in the world. Now, it's kind of hard to just kind of jump into this, because you might ask, what is a point? And that's a question I ask all the time, and but people who are diehard philosophers of metaphysics don't really ask those questions as much, and just kind of go on talking about it. And this is also a field of philosophy or a branch that relates very highly to the branch called philosophy of mind, because metaphysics about the reality of the world has also a lot to do with reality about our minds. First of all, I'm going to give you I'm going to define for you very briefly a couple different things, a couple different kinds of things in metaphysics. We have the thing of a property, or I'll start with a particular. Actually, a particular is basically a concrete thing in space. We have this distinction between abstract and concrete. Abstract things are things like Plato's forms, like the form of beautiful things, which Plato held there to be, the form of beauty is not concrete, in that it is not solid. It is not solid as this cup is, but anything that is beautiful in this world is an instantiation of the form of beauty. So we have that of a particular. It's a concrete, solid, substantial thing in this world. Second, we have a property. For instance, with this cup, it's round. Roundness is a property because it's a characteristic that can be ascribed to a thing. Whiteness, smoothness, brightness. Those are all properties that can be ascribed to things. Just basically characteristics, kind of. There's various theories of properties about properties and what they are, and there's ideas that properties basically are, or that universals exist. Universals are something that I won't go into for really in this video, but it's a different way of talking about a property. A trope is a similar thing, which I will also not really go into here, but it's a different way of talking about a property. And there's theories about if properties are real or not. There's different kinds of theories of properties. There's bundle theories, which says that there's no real things in the world except for there are collections of properties. And there's attribute, which is saying that there are particulars, which are like pins in a pin cushion, which characterize it basically. That's one big thing about in metaphysics is debate about what properties are and how they are in the world. That's a big, huge thing. What else do we have? I'm trying to get through this. This is a great book. It's like a great book on them. It's a really awesome book by about metaphysics. Nominalism is the theory that there are no properties. It's just different ways of talking about these things. Nominalism just kind of gives you a different way of thinking about a property. We have also the field of modality, about possibility and necessity, which I have quite a few videos about, or a good amount. It's basically talking about possible worlds and counterparts and transworld identity and such. Possible worlds. Like this is the actual world. There is a infinity of possible worlds. Which when we're thinking about things that are what is identity between things, and it's just talking about that, and it's hard to put all this in perspective, but it's basically different debates about different things. We also have the idea of the kind of discussion in metaphysics about causality and causation, and it's basically talking about the reality or the relation of cause and effect. David Hume, back in the modern philosophy times, talked a lot about that. We have just these very. Is there anything I missed? We have these very. They have this just like a vast array of different things that we can talk about. There's a lot about substance. What substance is. I have a whole book about that somewhere. Time. There's A theories and B theories of time. What else is there? Yeah. And as to there's the problem of the ship of Theseus, as to whether things persist through time if they're broken down and brought up. This is kind of just like a jumble of different things in there, but it's all different things about different ways of talking about the reality and the world. And if you're a empiricist type thinker, or if you're like a phenomenological type thinker, then this might not make so much sense if you really don't know about it, because it's just like what is the point? And that's basically a main thing. Another thing in metaphysics is the mind-body problem. That's kind of both in metaphysics and philosophy of mind. To put all this in perspective, what should be said is that it's talking about figuring out the way things could be, and the way things are, I guess. And it's these are all just all these different things are just ways of talking about the world. Different from the way people actually do talk about it in reality outside of philosophy. And everything. If you don't know, if you haven't read it, if you haven't read any metaphysics, nothing I've said is really going to make any sense to you. I just kind of define a few things very, very vaguely. But I think some good books to read, which could really bring you into what all this stuff is, and some really good stuff on that. This is a really good book here. I think it's relatively new, but it gives you kind of like a crash course, basically. And there are various other good books out there. If you want an anthology, this is a good one. It's a Blackwell anthology of metaphysics. And we have people like Quine, Carnap, Russell, things about identity, just various different things here. Yeah. And, and there's even the question is everything we see actually real? Is it objectively real, or is it just in our mind, or, it's just questions about the way things are. And I'm sorry, I kind of ramble on a little bit, but that's a very, very vague discussion of it. And if you think I've missed something, or if you think that there's something I should have said that could have made all this a little better, because I think I've messed it up a little bit, please comment on the site. I'd love to discuss it with you. And if somebody comes here and is confused, your comment will help them, because I messed up just a little bit. Thank you.